All right, guys, this is now the tricky part. So hopefully I explained it clearly, and I'm going to take my time explaining it because this is the hard part of this question. All right, so we've got two more conditions to consider. It says activities B, D, and E may only be completed by Lisa. Now, if looking here, D and E are both occurring at the same time. So this is going to be a condition that we do need to consider because they're both occurring at the same time. That's going to pose us with a problem. Let's read the last one as well. Activities G and H, here's G, here's H, so they're occurring at the same time as well. And these may be completed by anyone of John, Ken, or Lisa. So this one isn't going to pose us an issue because anyone could do them. It doesn't have to be completed by the same person. So that means we don't have to consider that one. All right, this one right here is the tricky one, in my opinion. So it says activities D and E may only be completed by Lisa. So D and E may only be completed by Lisa. This is really going to test whether or not we can consider what's happening here and keep multiple things in our head at once. So let's begin at the beginning. We're starting here, and we know that our first condition, told us that Ken needs to do B and C. So in my head, what I'm thinking is, all right, Ken is working on this one. It takes him 6 hours. And then someone else is working here. It's taking them 3 hours. Now, as soon as this 3-hour one is done, we know that Lisa could begin working on D. So Lisa is working on D. Now, at this point right here, let's call that she's been working on D for 3 hours. Because we know after 3 hours, we know that Ken is going to be finished here. Because 3 plus 3, and I can make this a bit longer, 3 plus 3 is 6. So at this point right here, 3 plus 3 is 6. Ken is done here because this takes 6 hours right here. So at this point right here, we'll go on 6 hours. Okay, so I'm going to put a 6 up here. Lisa has gotten to this point right here. Ken is done there. Ken then jumps up to C and begins working on C for 4 hours. And we know that Lisa is going to continue working on this edge, which goes for 7 hours. Sorry, and that means if she's already done 3, that means she needs to work for another 4 hours there. So that means if she's working for another 4 hours, we're going to plus 4 onto this. So that means we're now at 10 hours. With another 4 hours, that 4 hours, Ken is done here, right? So Ken is done there. Lisa then needs to jump to E and needs to work on E a bit for 6 hours here. So Lisa is working on E because she can only do D and E. So she's now working on E there. So we have to add on another 6 hours there. And that now means that to get to this point right here, it's going to be 6 plus 6 is 12. 12 plus 4 is going to be 16. Or to do it another way, we're going to go on 6 fours. 10 plus 6 is 16. So that means that this one right here, at 16 minutes, we're ready to begin H. At 16 minutes, we're ready to begin H. And remember, once we were finished with D, Ken had finished with this one, because this one was also 4. So this 4 was occurring at the same time this 4 was happening. So as soon as Ken is done with this one, Ken could have begun G, right? And G, while Lisa is over here for 6 hours, he would be over here for 6 hours. So 6 hours would be about there. He's nearly done. And John would have started this one right here, F. And now this would have taken him 5 hours. So he would have been done, ready to collect Lisa. And then they can both go on to finish H in this last bit here, which takes 5 hours. That gives Ken enough time to finish that 1 hour there. So that means we just need to add on an extra 5 here until we get until we finish, because we've got 16 here plus 5. 16 plus 5 is going to be 21. So that means if I want to consider my BEH pathway right here, this pathway right here, it's now going to be 21, because it was 6 plus 4 plus 6, and then plus 5 for this last bit here gets to 21. So that now means that the minimum time, if we were to take H, C, F, and H, would be 20 for H, C, F, and H, and the minimum time for BEH would be 21. Now this is, again, another tricky part. You need to know to take the bigger number. This is going to represent the minimum value, the bigger number. And that's because it's taking into account this one as well, this DE one. Remember, BC only took this into account. You know, when we we're doing 20. When we're doing ACFH 20, we're only considering BC. But now we've considered everything. So this one, the bigger number, has to be our minimum value. So that means our answer here is going to be D. Now that is tricky. And as I said, this was the last question of the network part of the exam 1. Let's see how many people got this correct as we look through our examiner's report now.